welcome to my channel. My name's Alexander and today I'm going to review Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë. This, in case you haven't heard of it, is a very famous book, a classic. It was published in 1847 in the UK and is a Gothic novel of about 300 pages. Now, the Gothic genre generally implies that the author is trying to achieve this mixture of love and horror. So prepare yourself for some pretty tragic stuff. Plot summary. The story is essentially about these two mansions, remotely located up in the cold north of England somewhere. There's Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange. There's really no point in going into the details of the characters, because there's quite a few, given that the story stretches over a period of 30 to 40 years. But what is going to happen is that some people are going to end up falling in love, but then marrying someone else. Some people are going to get depressed, some people are going to get born, and a lot of people are going to die. But that should already be clear from the second chapter. Warning, this is a really depressing book. It starts off pretty bad and then it's all downhill from there. And just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. So, did I like the book? No. See, it's a good book. It's a really good book. It's written in a pleasant and poetic style that I actually quite enjoyed. And the story is a good one, and intricate and complicated and yet well made. But I think it appeals to a particular kind of reader. You see, when I start a book, I'm not seeking out sadness. I like to have something fun or thought-provoking or exciting or thrilling or even occasionally something a bit tragic. But Wuthering Heights is for the kind of person who wants to deliberately seek out this kind of sadness and tragedy. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you a bad person. I just happen to not be that kind of person. When I read a book, I would like it to be science fiction maybe, or horror genre, and I can't exactly justify why I like these genres. And likewise, I know that there will be people who enjoy the sadness that you can find in Wuthering Heights, and whose idea of a good book will necessarily involve, at least to some extent, the main character going through a rough time. And that's okay, but that's not my kind of book. If you've decided you'd like to read the book, whether it be because you like that kind of book or because it's a classic and yes, it's a good thing to read, then do so by all means. I would just like to give you some advice beforehand so that you know how to approach the story. First of all, don't worry if you can't remember all the details of the family immediately. Already in chapter 4 you get a brief description of how the two families are linked together in all kinds of different and complicated ways. And it doesn't matter if you can't remember all of this straight away. The book is going to go over this relationship thing in the slow and thorough manner, so in the end you'll understand all of it anyway. Second piece of advice, don't trust anyone. The thing is, the story is told by this guy called Mr. Lockwood, who's the new tenant of Thrushcross Grange. Now he in turn is quoting what a servant, Ellen, has told to him, so she is actually the main narrator of most of the book. Again, Ellen will sometimes be quoting someone else who's told her something, and so even though you don't really notice it, what you end up having in this book is this kind of nested sequence of narrators that are telling the story. So what you should take away from this is that whenever you get a description of a person, that description is automatically going to be tainted by the personal opinion of whomever is telling the story at that time. So if you believe everything you read, you'll find that every person in the book, except of course for Ellen, the narrator, every person in the book is a bad, foul creature. And yes, when you read the book it may seem like this is true, but then you still need to keep in mind that this is a subjective point of view. So please don't do that. Try to make your reading experience a more pleasant one by taking someone's side. If you like a particular character, try to defend his point of view and try to justify the bad things that he is eventually bound to do, sadly. Of course you're free to change your point of view throughout the book, but at least try to feel sympathy for someone, because I think that's the only way you can ever hope to relate to one of the characters in the book and not just feel miserable throughout the 300 pages. So, final thoughts on the book. You may have heard of this being referred to as a love story. It is, but in the same time it's also a story of revenge and hatred. And if you're willing to embrace the book as a story about all of these emotions, then it's a fantastic book. But if you only view it as a love story, I don't think you're going to like it. That concludes my review of Wuthering Heights. Hope you enjoyed the review and see you soon.